I miss Toys R Us. What's going on, everybody? Republic Cinema here, and in this video, we're going to be taking another throwback at an older Transformers Studio Series figure, that being the Studio Series Thundercracker from Dark of the Moon. Apparently, Thundercracker was in Dark of the Moon. I'm not sure about that because I don't remember seeing Thundercracker in Dark of the Moon. I am aware of the theories and possible sightings of him in the backgrounds of Dark of the Moon, but of course it's not really confirmed that he was in the movie anyways. But hey, he got to be a Studio Series figure, and he looks pretty good. Painting and sculpting, pretty good. However, as you can see, this is a repaint of the old TLK Nitro Zeus toy that came out in 2017. The only thing remolded, however, was of course the head, which is a really nice looking head sculpt, by the way. As you can see, it's somewhat based off of the design of Starscream's head, just with more eyes and an ugly looking mouth. I can't even tell if that's a mouth. But anyways, did you know that this guy was supposed to be a Toys R Us exclusive? He was, just he only sold for like $10 or something. That's because during the time of this figure's release, Toys R Us was filing for bankruptcy. And unfortunately, here in the US, all of the stores closed. But if you did in fact go to Toys R Us about a few weeks before your local toy store closed, you could probably pick this guy up for a discounted $10, as mentioned earlier. Actually, for correction, I believe it was like $20 to $25, but still, that's a pretty great deal for a Voyager class figure. Most Voyagers go for a lot more than $20 to $25 now, especially when they're smaller than their older iterations. Oh, and another thing about this Thundercracker figure is he goes for quite a lot now. So if you were able to pick this guy up for a good price, then congrats. You're kind of lucky, I guess. But anyways, as previously mentioned, the painting is alright. Thundercracker always had that blue and black. It's just I feel like there's a little more black and gray than blue. Oh wait, never mind. I do like how there's a few lines of red and silver. One part of the paint scheme I never understood was this yellow thing in the chest. I'm not sure if that's a reference to the original G1 Thundercracker, where the cockpit of the plane made for the center of the chest. I don't think that's how it worked in this mold because, well, the cockpit of the plane is over here. On the knee pads of the legs, however, is the word intake slapped on. I'm not sure what that's about. Now, since this is an older figure, of course there is about a decent amount of kibble slapped on the back, the arm, and back in the arm. However, these parts are justifiable because, well, that's how it was on Nitro Zeus's body in Transformers The Last Night. However, I don't remember if the body design had this big flap right here. I know that this type of arm existed too, it's just it didn't really look like, the front of the plane in the movie. But of course, I guess the designers had to come up with something, so this is what they came up with, and you know what, it's not so bad. But anyways, we could just move on to accessories. This guy comes somewhat packing with accessories, just most of them not being removable though. He's got 2 Gatling guns on his shoulders, which I think is pretty cool. A Gatling gun on the arm, which can extend. Of course, he also has this, which I guess is supposed to be some form of axe. You could improvise and make it whatever shape you want, whether have it look as if it's like a crossbow about to shoot rocket launchers, or you could probably do something like this. And then of course this guy comes with detachable accessories, that being 2 pairs of 3 missile launchers, which all they do is they just go in there. And yeah, I suppose that's weapon storage. To me, this weapon storage appears as if Thundercracker is asking for an early death before he can even beat up Ironhide. Speaking of death, you could pull this guy's head off, just like the other figures, and replace it with whichever head you like. Whether be it a replacement head like the KSI bosses, or you can replace it with a literal headmaster like Cogman. For the record, a headmaster is a tiny robot whose alternate mode is a head. This was a trend in 2017, I think. But anyways, I believe it's time we move on to articulation now that the accessories are out of the way. Starting off with a bobble head, which I think is also on a ball joint as well. Anyways, the head can move up and down, but you can extend the upward movement if you move that panel right there. And of course, there's a swivel movement. I suppose these pieces moving around also counts as articulation, as they are on a side-to-side hinge joint. and an up and a down. Full rotation at the arm. Shoulder pad moves out, which allows a bend at the shoulder, bend at the elbow, elbow swivel. I don't know if this counts as articulation because it's primarily used for transformation, but the wrist can move up and down. Unfortunately, no waist swivel. Oh, and on the left arm, the wrist does not move around at all. No waist swivel, unfortunately, but hey, at least the legs can spread. Leg can move forward. Can't move back that far, no thanks to this thing right here. Thigh swivel, bend at the knee. Knee pad can also move down. And then lastly, the foot can move up and down. With the articulation out of the way, I believe it's time we move on to size comparison. Starting off, here he is next to the KSI boss, which was actually a repaint that came out after this guy, not before. And then here he is next to the Bumblebee movie version of Thundercracker, Ironhide, Laserbeak, Soundwave along with Laserbeak as a cyber bird, Barricade, Berserker, Crowbar, and then here's Crankcase, which is pretty much a repaint of Crowbar. Let's be honest, this guy would look better as a Crowbar next to the original Dark of the Moon Crankcase, because I believe that Crankcase had a little bit of gold on it as well. And since both of these two have a little bit of red, these could also work as Crankcase and Crowbar. I got all three of them because why not? Can't wait for Hatchet. Hieroglyphic Starscream, which is from Revenge of the Fallen, but can also work as a Dark of the Moon Starscream as well. Sentinel Prime, Shockwave, and lastly, here he is next to Megatron, and the little guy, which I believe is supposed to be the head of Long Haul. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. And the gang's pretty much all here. Well, kind of. Of course, we're missing a couple things like an accurate Crankcase, a remolded Barricade, a few protoforms that turn into police cars, protoforms that turn into trucks, protoform dreads, Long Haul, Scrapper, Garbage Truck Long Haul, a Dark of the Moon version of Starscream, oh, and Hatchet. We're missing Hatchet. Coming next year. Another thing I hope Hasbro does in the future is to go back and reuse the Thundercracker mold for other repaints, say Skywarp, Ramjet, and Thrust, as I think that would be pretty cool to see. And if they have to, they could just make an exclusive 3-pack. And forgot to mention there's one more Decepticon figure that would be cool to see in the Studio Series that would pretty much complete the Decepticon team, other than the space vehicles. But we're missing DevCon. The question is, if Hasbro were to do a Studio Series DevCon, would he be a leader class or commander class? I'm not too sure, so let me know in the comments which type of class you think DevCon should be. But anyways, I think it's about time we move on to the transformation, which is a process I keep on forgetting about. What is best to start off is to have the entire left arm folded in. Once those black tips are folded in, the next thing that would enclose would be these side sections right here, which do in fact fold in as well, thus forming the front of the plane. One other thing to point out is to make sure that the pair of missiles are removed from these back pieces right here. The tip will untab from a certain slot, but unfortunately for my copy, it's prone to snapping off. This entire box folds out to become one flat wing. This piece right here that tends to untab will fold in like so, as well as this gray piece folding outwards. The same process will have applied to the other side as well. After that, the wings will be left like this for now. Moving on to the next step is for the hand to fold in, as well as the feet. This entire shoulder section will move outwards, as well as that panel holding the head. After that, the head will rotate 180 facing backwards. And now here comes the tricky part. This bottom section will split. This leg will move out like so, which by untabbing this entire section will allow for this whole arm to move all the way down to where the leg once was. Before tabbing the front onto the body, you will make sure that this is closed in. After that, the right arm will rotate backwards, the shoulder pad will also move outwards, and this entire arm will close in like so. Once the entire arm section moves down, the shoulder will just rest over there, and the arm will be positioned in a way where this slot right here will tab on right into that tab right there. And now in order for this leg to be folded in, the shoulder pad that was resting over here will move outwards, which will allow this piece to move in. And after that, the section will close, as well as this entire leg tabbing onto this section right here. There is a slot right there. And then for further confirmation, this slot will peg onto that tab. And after that, the wings will fold in. Just before folding in, the wings will also have to be made sure that This also folds in as well. And there's actually a series of tabs and slots that will conjoin together as this entire wing collapses on to the side. It would help to press down to make sure all tabs are tabbed on to each other. The same process would apply to the other side. The back fin would move outwards. It would help to make sure that the back wing is on a 90-degree angle. And last but not least, the missiles will tab onto that slot as weapon storage. And that would be Thundercracker in his jet mode. And this guy does have landing gear as well. You just want to move this thing outwards, and there you go. And I gotta say, the plane that Nitro Zeus transformed into looks really good in blue colors, along with a few red and silver stripes. Overall, a nice looking plane mode. And it's a little big too. Oh, and for the record, there's a hidden feature where the door to the cockpit opens up, just revealing another hollow gap. Nice. If you look on the bottom, there's of course a lot of robot kibble. So much kibble that if you look on the top, there's a lot sticking out. Even on this side too. However, is it that big of a deal? Probably not. It's alright. However, there were previous mainline molds before this guy that transformed into plane modes that did cover the kibble a little better. But anyways, for a quick comparison, here he is alongside the KSI boss. Looking good, looking good. And then for another comparison, here he is alongside Starscream. Because why not? I think it would have been pretty cool to see Thundercracker and Starscream work together. However, that's probably not going to happen. Maybe in Transformers 1? Maybe. But we'll see. Anyways, leave a comment down below which one's your favorite out of the three. And I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all I had to say for this guy. Overall, pretty solid figure. And a little bit on the underrated side for a repaint. The head sculpt looks really nice too. If you could get this guy for a reasonable price, I'd say go get it. If you are looking to get this guy, however, well, he's kind of hard to find for a reasonable price, I think. I haven't really checked to see how much this guy goes for ever since I got him 2 years ago, but I'm sure you can get lucky enough to find a deal on, say, eBay or Mercari of this guy for like 40 bucks. And if you are looking to completing the entire Decepticon cast from Dark of the Moon, then you might want to look into this guy. As previously mentioned earlier, I hope Hasbro goes back and does repaints of this guy. I would love to see a Dark of the Moon Skywarp, Dark of the Moon Ramjet, Dark of the Moon Thrust. But who knows if that's ever going to be likely. Probably not. We'll see. But for now, I believe the only Skywarp and Thundercracker repaints coming anytime soon would probably be repaints of that Gamer Edition Starscream. That's next year. Oh, speaking of Skywarp, can't wait for that Bumblebee movie Skywarp, which is set to come out soon, I guess. I think it might come out August. The pre-order suggests September, but usually figures come like 1 month before their release. So yeah, we'll see about that. But anyways, if you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button, share this with your friends as well, turn on post notifications so that way you don't miss another upload. Let me know how I did in this video, and most importantly, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See ya!